How you guys doing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go and look at loan plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed in daily fantasy sports and all these contests operate. If you have a question related to NASCAR, a stupid question, feel free to shoot them away on Twitter, BrandonCruzDFS. Most importantly, take everything here with a grain of salt and use your best judgment to make it entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that's just not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. We're talking about the Cup Series this weekend at Michigan. So let me bring everything up on here. And so I'm still debating on who I want to give laps led to and who I want to give fast laps to, but I've done a majority of my projections, at least, place differential, where these guys are going to finish. And I've given a few laps led spread out between people. So entering this week, we have the Michigan race, then we have Daytona next week. This Michigan race is going to be boring. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be pretty green up until the end. I'm mad that Pierce brought it up because he's just giving me bad ideas. But even entering this week, seeing how chaotic this season has been and how desperate some of these drivers have been, I truly think if we get a yellow with 30 laps to go, 25 to go, 20 to go, because we normally see somebody either blow a tire or debris on the track. And so if we have a caution late in the race, it's going to turn into a complete wreckfest because your only chance to pass at Michigan is in turns 1 and 2 on a restart. That's your only time. Your only time. So we're going to see guys go 4 or 5 wide into turn 1 and out of turn 2 on these restarts. The outside lane is going to be where you're at. So if you're on the inside, if you're starting on the inside, you either need to throw it to the very bottom of the racetrack or try and push up the guy on the outside because you're just going to get freight trained. And so this is just me. At this point in the season with these two races, because like I said, Daytona's next week, that's going to be a wreckfest. I think there's a real chance that late in this race, it becomes a wreckfest. You see ugly value plays that weren't working the entire day, or bad picks or bad plays come through, and then the good plays, the guys who were scoring well the entire day, the guys who were running inside the top 10 all day, end up getting involved in a wreck, taken out. And so I'm going to be playing light this week, and I'm going to just embrace the late race chaos. And so just keep that in mind. And so my rankings are still, if you're an A, you're at 5x or above. If you're a B, you're right at 5x or 4.9 in value. C is, slightly below that. D is, I'm most likely not going to get to. But as I just said, I think we're going to see bad value actually do work in this race. So I think you need to make the player pool even bigger this weekend. And for me, on the lineups that I've made early, I've wound up with certain lineups that go to Michael McDowell, that go to Bubba Wallace, that go to Eric Jones. And those aren't guys that I'm like dying to play. But if I land on them, and then kind of leaning more into, I think we're going to see wrecks late in this race. I think even ugly plays like those guys I just mentioned as your last guys in lineups, I think you should still consider those lineups because I fully believe we're going to have a wreck fest late in this race. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and start ranking these guys. And so Larson should, quote-unquote, dominate this race, should lead. The tracks I'm looking at, let me make sure I got this up. Yeah, the tracks I'm looking at are mainly the tracks that can prove how fast these cars are and how fast these teams are when it's completely trimmed out and when it's close to full throttle, because that's what Michigan is going to be. There's going to be a lot of on-throttle time. It's a very aerodynamic type of racetrack, and like I said, it's basically going to be pack racing for the first turn and a half, 2 corners at this establishment. And so I'm looking specifically at Charlotte because I think Charlotte is a good racetrack to identify where all the teams are. That's usually what the Coca-Cola 600 does. It shows you where every team is in terms of long run, in terms of consistency throughout a race, in terms of how to set up a car on pretty much a pretty smooth track with a lot of grip. I know that's not Michigan, but I think you can look at who is fast at Charlotte and learn a lot. On top of that, I'm looking at Pocono. I know Pocono and Michigan are two drastically different animals, but when we're looking at cars that are trimmed out, when we're looking at teams that are trimmed out, I want to see who had speed on the extremely long straightaways of Pocono. And so those are the 2 places that I'm going to be looking at the most. I'll also look at Atlanta. I'll also look at Kansas. I'll look at the other intermediate tracks, but those are the main 3 races I'm looking at. So it's the Coca-Cola 600 and the 2 Pocono races. That's really what I'm basing a lot of my interest in this race here at Michigan. I'm not really looking at previous track history. You can, but I've learned that I just look at recent data at tracks that I think are going to race very similar to them. So that's where we're at. So I like Larson a ton. I got him leading laps. I got him winning the race. I got him getting fast laps. I like him. Chase Elliott, I'm a bit worried right now. 9,200 is doable and easy to get to. It just, I would much rather go to Ryan Blaney. As I just said, when you look at cars that are typically trimmed out, and even the super speedway races to an extent, because normally the people who do well at super speedways in terms of speed, in terms of who's able to get in front of the pack, that's usually the Fords. And more specifically, when you look at Blaney and you cross-examine, his races at Atlanta, his races at Michigan, although I kind of just said I wasn't looking at track history, just kind of glancing over, Blaney kind of fits into these types of races. When you look at how he's ran this year at Charlotte and Pocono, if I can find Blaney. So Charlotte, he finished 13th. We saw that Penske kind of just whiffed. Penske and Joe Gibbs Racing kind of whiffed at Charlotte. They even said it themselves, like, these guys just didn't arrive with the car that they wanted to. And so Blaney was like a 13th, 14th best placed driver. And then when you go to Pocono, which is where, I think a lot of trimmed out stuff outside the plate tracks can be easily seen, you had Blaney finish 5th and 6th in both of those races, despite all the chaos of guys running out of fuel and everything that happened in both those races. And so I would actually prefer to go to Blaney over Elliott this week. And so that's where we're at right now. Matt DiBenedetto, just not going to get to. I don't see him doing much. I've got him projected for 22 points right now. Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, kind of in the same realm of. I don't know if I'm going to get to him, especially if I'm higher on Blaney. And I think when you look back at optimal lineups here, you'll see a lot of lineups that have like 3 guys in the 10K range, or 1 in the 9, 2 in the 10, and then a lot of 6K guys. And the 7K, 8K range, at least in previous races, aren't really being used a ton in the optimal lineup, whereas I think you can make an argument for that this weekend. And so I'm probably not going to be going to Truex, despite the fact that he's in the auto owners paint scheme. So you need to bump that up to like a C.5, right under a B. It's the auto owner's car. Kyle Busch right now. I like Kyle. I think Kyle's going to run better than the other Joe Gibbs Racing teammates in terms of getting laps led, in terms of possibly getting fast laps. When you look at Charlotte, pretty much the best Toyota at Charlotte, at Pocono, 2nd and 1st. He's there. This is the Joe Gibbs car I want to target. So that's where we're at. Next time, I'll go there. So if I'm in the 10K range, it's going to be for Larson. It's going to be for Kyle Busch. That's just where we're at right now. Kevin Harvick, I think he can finish 4th. I think he can get up to 4th and 3rd. I think he's going to get fast laps as well. I just don't see him getting the lead. I don't see him getting in front of the other teammates right now. Denny Hamlin going to be a bit hesitant just because I'm higher on Kyle Busch right now. Love Alex Bowman. Easy to fit into lineups. Easy to get a 5x value. I find it hard to believe that, or I find it hard to believe that, Alex Bowman doesn't hit like 45, 46 points in this race, just on place differential alone, not even looking at fast laps and laps led. Buescher, it's $6,500. I think when we get into the 6K range, it's obviously the guys in the back of the field that we need to look at. Briscoe, Michael McDowell. However, if those guys for whatever have, if they don't perform well, if they don't get wrecked, that's why I'm not saying I wouldn't be shocked to see Jones, Wallace, or Chris Buescher wind their way into a high scoring lineup or backdoor the way into the optimal lineup if things get crazy and the 6K guys are taken out. And so I frankly don't hate Buescher. Right now I have him for 28 points. It's a 4.3 value, nothing to really shake a stick at. Like, I would avoid that most weeks, but in a situation where I truly believe that we're going to see a wreckfest, I'm going to leave him in the player pool. Same thing with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I got to leave him there. Eric Jones is my lowest projected guy in this range, and so just because he's my lowest projected guy right now, he's out. I would much rather go to Bubba because I am seeing Bubba go into lineups. That's what the optimizers want to do right now, and I think Bubba can walk away with 32 points in this race. 33 points. That's a 5x. I would not be shocked at that. When we yet again look at the tracks that I'm wanting to base, my trimmed out theory. So Bubba 14th at Charlotte. Okay, nothing crazy, but he's starting 15th here. And then when you go to Pocono, 14th in the first Pocono race, 5th in the second one. Oddly enough, those are like Bubba's best races outside of the 14th at Atlanta, which is another intermediate track you can look at. And so I don't mind Bubba for a top 15 finish in this race at all. And so I like Bubba. What can I say? I don't know if other people are liking him right now. I haven't listened to anyone. I'm recording this on Thursday, around noon. I haven't read anything. I haven't seen anything. But I don't mind Bubba. I don't mind Bubba at all. As we get to Reddick, I guess I skipped over him. I like Reddick as well. Newman, going to be a no for me. You guys already know how I feel about Newman. Same thing with Haley, not going to do it there. I like William Byron to get up there, get some fast laps. I don't mind him. I would much rather, if I'm paying for a Penske driver outside of Blaney, it's going to go Keselowski and then Logano for me. If you remember last year, Keselowski and Blaney ended up wrecking each other right when they all got up to the front. And so that's how that is. I think I've had guys wreck in every single Michigan race. I think Michigan might be one of my worst tracks outside of short tracks for this stuff, but we'll check it out. Briscoe, like I said, we got to keep him in there. I just like Bubba Wallace more in the 6K range. He's cheaper, and I think people are going to be scared to play him. As we get to Chastain, don't mind Chastain. I don't mind Eric Almirola. Like I said, I think the 7 and 8K range is going to kind of be maybe not avoided, but not played nearly as much as normal. I like these guys. I know I got 5,600 for Josh Berry just because they haven't released his price, and all I did was just change the name from LaJoy to Berry because LaJoy got the COVID. He got Rip Corey LaJoy. Most likely not going to use Josh Berry in this one here. Michael McDowell. Right now I got him for 29 points. That's a 4.8 value. We've seen Michael McDowell. Let's look at his... see where he ran here. So McDowell, he's starting 25th, but at Charlotte, 20th. At Pocono, the 2 Pocono races, 19th and 17th. There's something about, even when you look at Michael McDowell's other races, at Kansas finished 13th. Got a bit crazy in that race at the end. Atlanta, the first one, finished 19th. Las Vegas earlier in the year finished 17th. Like, I don't think it's wild to see McDowell score anywhere from 29 to 30 to 31 to 32 points pretty easily in this event. And so in the 6K range, my initial targets are McDowell and Bubba Wallace right now. So that's where we're at. Austin Dillon, I think it's pretty easy for Austin Dillon to hit 48 points. So yeah, if you want to call that a lock, go right ahead. But that's where we're at right now. I think Dillon should be chalk. Obviously, last week a lot of people are. It's wild when you go on Twitter and you're like, or you see people saying things like, "Man, I told you that Austin Dillon was bad chalk. I told you Austin Dillon was a bad play." Like, dude, we're watching WWE right now. Nothing's a bad play anymore. Certainly not this weekend and not next weekend. I think the entire field is in the play and in the player pool, honestly, because I'm not going to be shocked. I guarantee you, man. We go into overtime at Michigan because we always go into overtime at Michigan. We're going to have a wreck. They're going to kill each other out of turn 2, and we're going to have good plays go through, and we're going to have bad plays that work, and we're going to have good plays that fail. That's just how it's going to be. And so I like Austin Dillon just based on pure projections. I don't even give a shit about the ownership. Same thing with Christopher Bell. I like Bell a lot too. I think these are a great place to start your core at. If you're playing cash, I imagine they're going to be very popular. I think in tournaments, like, I'm not really caring about ownership. I'll probably end up being over the field if I do make a lot of lineups. Same thing with Suarez. I like Suarez here. Like, I don't hate playing all three of these guys together. I really don't. Let's get that squared away real quick. Let me look at the lineups that I have built, because there's quite a few that want to use these three together, and I don't hate the lines. Let me look real quick. Let me open this up, if it'll load. Sorry for the dead air. All right, so when we get Suarez in there, when we get Dylan in there, and when we get Bell in there, because I don't know why Bell is underpriced. Bell is severely underpriced this week. So that gives you $8,700 left on average. If you throw Larson in there, you're left with $7,300. I like that a ton. That's what the optimizer is liking. I like that. I think hand builds are going to like that. I think that's a good place to start. I don't hate that at all, really. You're not going to have really a second dominator if you do that, but I think you can score well. And if things get crazy and it really does turn to a fucking place differential race, that's just where we're going to have to be. So I don't hate just paying for these three guys. I just know it's going to get crazy. I know it's going to get ugly. It's going to get crazy. For whatever reason, Quinn Houff is $4,500 again. Can't use him this weekend, starting too high up, but I'm telling you, man, whenever Quinn is starting 38, 37, 36 at $4,500, I'm just going to go back to playing him. I do that every time. He's cheap. Just starting too high up this weekend. Priest, I got him projected for 25 points. I'm not going to even worry about Priest. Same thing with Smithley. Same thing with Davison. Alfredo is interesting. I got him for 28 points, 4.x value right now. I think he's going to be very popular. If you're needing the salary and you can't get in the 6K range, Anthony Alfredo at 5,800 should work. But he's Alfredo, so he'll probably wreck as well as everybody else. I don't know why I have Spencer Davis in here. Actually, I need to change that because he is not in this race. That is the Truck Series. I guess I copied and pasted him in there. Looking at PJ McLeod. Sorry, I'm professional. I swear I am. So this is where we're at right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So 25 guys in there that I think you need to consider. And I think you need to keep the pool that big. As I said, I think we're going to have a wreckfest at the end of this race. We're going to have some idiot try and work his way into the playoffs and cause a big wreck. Or they'll stay out on tires and start on the outside and then kill the good lane on the outside and just it'll all fall apart. And so we've seen it time and time again this year. I'm not going to waste time building a lineup or building lineups and constructions for races that should go green because they just don't. These drivers like to wreck. It's been shown across the board this year. And if NASCAR can come up with a good finish, they're going to come up with a good finish. And so keep that in mind. I think we have a wreck fest at the end of this Michigan race. You can find all my projections and stuff at Patreon, Brandon Cruz, and Brandon Cruz DFS in the description below. Same thing. I got a PayPal in there if you want to support me, or if you want to tip me, or whatever you want to do there. And that's mainly about it. I'm gonna try and be live Sunday. I'm not gonna be live Saturday. I got stuff to do over here. I'm probably not gonna be live Friday for the Truck Series. I'll try to be, but if it doesn't happen tomorrow, then it doesn't happen. But yeah, that's the update. Hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully this gives you some ideas of where I'm going, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.